my goblins and gremlins, and welcome back to the chaos. I hope you are having a wonderful day today, and I'm so glad to see you here. So one of my all-time favorite shows is a show called Steven Universe by Rebecca Sugar. And if you don't know, Steven Universe is a cartoon from Cartoon Network, and it has 5 seasons, and it follows along the life of Steven Universe, who is an alien-human hybrid, and the crystal gems who are like his moms, being Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl. If you haven't seen the show, I highly recommend you watch it. It is absolutely phenomenal. I definitely have a bit of a bias because I grew up with it. But it's honestly amazing, and it does get much better as it goes on. I have a little bit of discontentment with the movie, but we're not going to get into it. So the reason why I'm saying all of this is because today we are going to be redrawing Amethyst in a new aesthetic. Recently I have seen a lot of TikToks and like Pinterest and like a bunch of people talking about something called Goblincore. And essentially, like in a nutshell, what Goblincore is it's like the sister of cottagecore, specifically appreciating the parts of nature that are deemed a little bit uglier. We're talking mud, fungus, frogs, snakes, lizards, all of those things that don't tend to be a part of the very flowery nature of cottagecore. And a lot of the videos that I have seen of this have been very dark, earthy tones and a lot of clutter collections, if you will. And what is more perfect for Amethyst to be redrawn in? She has a giant trash heap of a bedroom. She loves the weird things and the gross things. She literally eats garbage on a regular basis. Like, I mean, come on, it's Amethyst. I did consider the option of redrawing Pearl, the more uppity character, in the Goblincore aesthetic, because I thought it might be ironic and it would be kind of funny to draw her in a very disgusted, like, a facial expression or something. But you know, it's too perfect for Amethyst. So maybe one day I will do a redraw of Pearl as in Goblincore, but we do have a different plan for Pearl. But for now, we're just gonna go ahead and dive into this speed draw that is 18 hours, shortened significantly for your viewing pleasures. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so to get started, I do start kind of sketching out, trying to figure out Amethyst's anatomy. Now, I did not do any like practice sketching before this, so this is notably rough. And this is also when I was still thinking that this is gonna be a short couple hour, drawing where you just do a quick little character design of Amethyst. And that ends up not being what happens at all. So the way that this ends up working out is I kind of have her in this paper doll like stance, and then I'm drawing over the different outfit ideas I have for her. For starters, I have this sort of short tank top combo with the cardigan over top, mismatched socks, and a really interesting belt that I don't think actually makes it into it, and a frog and a necklace, and I get out all into these details. They don't end up staying around. The next option that I have is this sort of holy sweater, to where you can see you know, her gem really well, but still have the full turtleneck, full length pants, and then the same chucks kind of vibe. I do end up deciding that I like the shorts option better because I do like the way Rebecca Sugar did the shorts outfits in later seasons of Steven Universe. So I take that and I'm like, okay, now I need to draw her in a more interesting pose. And this was the beginning of my demise because I really wanted to draw her in this pose of laying, you know, in an environment. So she ends up in this upside down, really random ass pose because it's Amethyst. It fits, okay? And then for some reason I realized that I completely drew her shoulders weird, and then I was like, oh, well, what if I do one of it off the shoulder? How does that, one of the, like, parts of the cardigan off the shoulder? It doesn't even go into anything. I'm thinking that this is going to end up in the final. Spoiler alert, it does not. So I'm sitting here blocking in, you know, kind of sketching in how all of the clothes are going to look with her in this pose. Because I decided to be really interesting with the pose and proceeded to abuse myself later by trying to figure out how to draw these shoes. And so, fun fact is, I couldn't figure out how to draw the bottoms of the shoes in, like, a normal way, so they end up turning into, like, 2-inch platforms, which, I mean, I like them, they're super cool, but that was not intended. But hey, you know, Amethyst and platforms, let's go. God, I have so much of a struggle with these shoes. And then this isn't even all of it, just trying to figure out how to do the perspective on these and all of it. When I get to actually coloring Amethyst, I futz with it even more. It's ridiculous. And the funny thing is so at this point I have spent maybe 20 minutes on this, 20 to 30 minutes, you know, it's pretty short, and then I take forever trying to figure out this environment. None of this stays. The shelf, the random chest of drawers that I decided to throw in, none of it stays, you know. Delete your art, like, is kind of how I ended up doing this first bit of this. And then goodbye Amethyst. Now I have to figure out, okay, I'm doing a whole freaking background of her in her room. So Rebecca Sugar goes through and she does a gazillion crystals just all over the place in Amethyst's room in the temple. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put her in her actual room, laying on a pile of stuffies, reading a comic. Oh, boy, was this a trip. I shouldn't have done this. I have regrets, damn it. But I also love how it came out. So I have all of these really weird stuffed animals. I even have, what is his name? It's like Mr. Queasy, I think is his name. From the show, I have the little pumpkin creature. I have a bunch of frogs. There's like 3 or 4 frogs in there. I have a Snorlax. I have a Ditto. You know, I just have this giant pile of a gazillion stuffies, and I didn't even spend most of my time on this. I spent most of my time on this in this section where I block out the actual background and throw a bunch of stuff in it and put way too much detail in it. Oh boy. So right now what I'm doing is I've got a few references up of Rebecca Sugar's like screen captures or like full background drawings of Amethyst's room, like her actual room in the temple. And so I'm using that for color references as well as kind of getting a general idea of how these crystals actually look. And I spend a lot of time on this. I block out all of those crystals, and then I move on to kind of mid-ground area. It's like the background, but one step closer to the mid-ground, because technically she's in the mid-ground. Specifics aside, I start working on this area of just rock formations and crystals growing out of rocks and just random junk everywhere. And I will say, zoom out more. Just if you're working digitally, zoom out more, because I am so zoomed in on these little crystals and rocks that I'm working on, and I'm like actually like, oh, figuring out how many faces of these crystals there are, and figuring out, you know, little bumps and things. And when you're looking at it in full screen like we are now, you can barely see any of it. Like, what did I even do during all of this? I don't know. It looks like I put a bunch of glitter in some rocks and there you go. But I spent so much time painstakingly like actually drawing each individual crystal in this, and you can't see most of it. But hey, you know, practice, I guess. Still see all of my references up, and I do find some interesting things that I do see that is in her junk piles from the official art. I do see a mattress in there. There's a bunch of just random boxes and chests and things like that, so you know, I'm like, okay, this is good. I throw in some trash bags. I'm not 100% sure if I see that in any of the references, but you know, maybe it was there. I just decided a trash bag was a nice filler of space. And I definitely struggled with how cluttered this whole thing is, but you know, we got there. Oh my goodness, this little duck over here, I freaking love his face. I don't know why it's there. I think it's supposed to be like one of those toy things that are like in front, or used to be in front of grocery stores. You put a quarter or like 50 cents in, and then it like shakes and the kid can ride it like it's a horse or something. So like that's what this duck is, but I freaking love its face so much. I don't know why, just I love it. So we're finally, for some reason, I'm kind of jumping over to the other side, for some reason. I know exactly why. Alright, so in the true theme of me jumping around like crazy for no apparent reason, I do work on the ceiling for a little bit and then go back to some more of these details of like this washing machine and stuff. But all of this background that you see, soon it will be completely changed, because I realized that how thick I did the lines and the colors, it's pulling all of this too far forward in the perspective. So I decided I'm gonna go through and completely change all of the line weight in that work that I did back there to be significantly thinner. I do change some of the colorings of this, but it's it's really hard to tell the colors that I changed, but you know, it is very subtle to sort of make it more like desaturated and further back, but still bright in the picture, because you know, this is one of the few situations where the closer you get to the, you know, foreground, the darker things get. And that's just pretty much just how Amethyst's room is, because she has a lot of light coming from that deep part of it, and like no light anywhere else, because all her room is just a collection of human junk. So yeah. Alright, so finally I start doing some work on these stuffed animals, just fully blocking them in. Now, mind you, at this point, I have already spent like 10, 11 hours on this process. I spent so much time just on the background of this, but hey, we're more than halfway through, so woo! Now, I absolutely love everything that I did with these stuffed animals. It was really neat to just kind of think of like what kind of weird things would Amethyst collect that does go on with that sort of Goblincore aesthetic. But, you know, she kind of has kept most of nature outside of her room, because I feel like Pearl, anytime she would start like bringing something into her room, if it's like any sort of natural thing, like an actual frog or, you know, just a pile of dirt or a bunch of mushrooms, she was like, no, you are not bringing that in here. But, you know, for sure there's definitely some stuff there, but this specific pile is just sort of things that kind of match that aesthetic, but are just stuffed animals. I even have, so I have the cluster hand puppet, and I have Mr. Queasy in here. I have the alien that Peridot wins in here. I have a stuffed animal that kind of looks like the living pumpkin from Peridot and Lapis Lazuli's farm. So there's a lot of like fun little things. There's even a Furby in there. And so if you can find it, I also have one of those like stuffed animals that some parents will get, where they take the stuffed animals, like this creepy little monster thing, and then they will collect their kids' baby teeth like as they fall out and sew it to the stuffed animal. So I have included one of those in there. Comment down below if you do find it. I think it's really, really just weird, and definitely something that I think Amethyst would adore. So yeah, I spend a lot of time on this. Alright, so exactly on theme, I am continuing to avoid the actual point of this drawing, which is Amethyst herself, and begin working on the foreground, essentially mimicking the crystals that I have in the background, and then finally we get on to actually drawing Amethyst in my style. Now, this angle, I don't know why I chose it, because it was a lot, man. The perspective is wild, but I am fully like going through and actually inking. I do decide to ink her in black, whereas everything else has been inked in a color like associated with the thing that it is, but nothing is actually inked in black, and I do this in attempt to make her stand out more in comparison to everything around her, because there is a lot of clutter, there's a lot of visuals that can bring your eye to different places, but of course Amethyst is our focal point, so she's all lined in black, and again, I spend way too much time on this, but hey, learning. Now, something to note is I did do this drawing a while ago. It has taken me a while to actually do the voiceover for this, for reasons, but I have done a lot more practice since then, so there's a lot of things that while I'm sitting here watching this and, you know, telling you what I'm doing and all of that nonsense, I am seeing a lot of things that I personally did wrong. I do fix it later, but like I fix some of it later. There are still some things that are just, you know, weird. And then I also never shade anything, because by the time I had gotten to a point of like fully wanting to go in depth and shade things, I'm like, nah, I have already spent way too long, and then I check how much time I had spent on this, and then it shows me 18 hours, and it's like, how? Now we're in the final leg of everything, finally throwing down some colors for her. and trying to get it to match, you know, the colors I've already chosen for everything around her. Now, I will say that is a struggle, especially when we're talking about these very earthy, you know, browns and green tone that is associated with Goblincore, and then her being very purple, because that's what she is. She's an amethyst. She's purple. So it was very interesting trying to figure out the colors for this. But we're finally done. And yeah, finishing touches, and there you have it. And there you have it. That is Amethyst redrawn in a Goblincore aesthetic. Again, this took me way too long. It should not have taken me this long, but it's fine. I like the outcome, and hopefully, you know, the Pearl redraw that we have coming later will be just as nice. Let me know down below how you felt about it. Any thoughts, opinions, critiques even. I am fully down to some constructive criticism. And let me know if there's anything else you would like to see me do. But yeah. Thanks for hanging out, and bye, I guess. I don't understand what you mean. I'm not peeking in any way. Then turn down your volume. I'm so far from the mic right now. Like, the mic is here. It's right here.